Part 2 of this 4-part series on the timeless Montagu Pass covers the section from the summit area to the 10th kilometer view site. This is the tombstone of Amanda Pienaar, who travelled this pass many times in the family's Model T Ford in the years prior to 1915. It was her wish to have her ashes scattered at this beautiful viewpoint. Some years later, her husband's ashes were also scattered in this very same spot. From this point, the views extend southwards down the Keir River Gorge all the way to George, with the Indian Ocean just visible in the distance. Once you've had your fill of the marvellous summit views, it's time to tackle the descent, which is almost 10 kilometers of non-stop descending. We recommend shifting to a lower gear to allow your vehicle to run against compression instead of the overuse of the foot brake, which could result in brake failure. A good rule of thumb is to use the same gear that you used for the ascent. The railway line appears at a lower height than the road as it exits a tunnel through the summit crest, then runs to within a few meters of the roadway. The road and the railway line then swap heights, with the road dropping down below the height of the railway line. The road now underpasses the railway line via a very sharp right-hand bend, and immediately after the overhead rail bridge there is an excellent picnic site on the right. After this S-bend, the road once again parallels the railway line, but on the opposite side. Soon the three arches of the railway viaduct come into view, which also offers a scenic picnic spot with a small stream that burbles out of the undergrowth. It's signposted as Stinko Dry, and the site is unfortunately somewhat spoilt by graffiti. The road bends away to the right after the viaduct and begins a long and steep descent without any bends. This is the steepest section of the pass, with a gradient of 1 in 6, and is named the Regoptrek after the way the oxen had to strain to get their loads up this section. The drop side is guarded by a low stone parapet which has a cement capping to it, which was added in later years in an effort to keep the walls intact. There are only about 6 places one can safely stop on the descent, and don't even think about overtaking, and if you're in a hurry, rather make use of the newer tarred Outeniqua Pass. Opposing traffic can often be a bit of a problem, requiring one of the vehicles to reverse back or put the offside wheels off the roadway. Etiquette is for ascending vehicles to have the right-of-way. This unofficial right-of-way rule applies to all single-width passes in South Africa and worldwide. However, this is not always practical or safe. Apply some common sense and make sure that you communicate adequately with the driver of the other vehicle. Many of the users of this pass are foreign tourists who are unaccustomed to driving on the left-hand side of the road. They often instinctively stop on the wrong side when faced with an oncoming vehicle. Be courteous and put your country first. The next sharp right-hand bend is called Grogse Draai and reveals a small stream crossing under the road. All these streams have potable water. This spot got its name from ox wagon drivers who watered their animals at the small perennial stream whilst they took a shot of grog, probably gin or some other type of moonshine liquor. A glance over to the right on the far side of the ravine will reveal the cuttings and the skyline of the tarred Outeniqua Pass, and if you intend driving the Montagu Pass on a circular day trip, you will most likely be descending down the Outeniqua Pass. In doing so, make sure that you stop at the third view site along the descent, signposted as the 4 passes. From this vantage point, you'll get great views of the Montagu Pass as well as the railway pass, and the Old Craddock Pass is very difficult to see unless you have binoculars. If you fancy something different, you can try going on the diesel caboose called the Outeniqua Power Van, which runs up to the topping station from the George station and returns again the same way. This is another unusual and different way to experience the magic of the Montagu Pass. The excursion takes about 2 hours, and tickets can be purchased at the Transnet Museum in George. Along this section, the road reduces in width, with only the odd place where there are smaller, wider sections to facilitate safe passing. You'll get wonderful views of the tall packed dry stone walls which prop the road up. These were painstakingly built by hand, and the measure of their quality is that this road is still in daily use after 170 years. This southern descent is much wetter than the northern side and is much more prone to water damage in the form of washaways and deep ruts. Be sure to watch part 3 of the Montagu Pass, which deals with the final part of the descent and ends at the Keir River Bridge.